little Leap webinar that we do very consistently and fun. Today's going to be a quick one, but also a really cool one. Topic, really the theme today is, as you see on the screen, it's really all going to be about how you guys can leverage incentives, in this case through Destination Motivation, one of our cool partners. We've got Caleb Nelson, their president, on the line. Caleb, say what's up.
What's up, guys?
Awesome. Thoroughly jealous of you joining from Southern California, where my home is, even though I now live on the East Coast. So say hello to sunshine, even though I think it's raining there today, isn't it?
That's a myth.
It's a myth. It's fake news. Fake news.
Fake news. Sun's out, guns out.
Oh, man. Yeah. Still jealous. So what we'd love is, I see people starting to filter in. Do us a favor. There's a couple housekeeping items we want to touch on. First and foremost, in your little GoToWebinar toolbox, you'll see there's a question section. We like to use that as a way to make sure that what we're talking about on these webinars is what you guys actually want to hear. So do us a favor. Drop any of the questions that you have in that section. Easiest way for me to understand that you know what you're doing. Throw in where you're joining from today. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. That way we know this thing is working, because sometimes technology that we don't own is not always our friend. California, Jacob, once again, jealous. Thanks for throwing that in there. So cool. Like I said, today what we're going to be touching on first and foremost is just ways that you can use Destination Motivation's travel vouchers to drive new leads, thoroughly own your funnel, and really more than anything, use that as a tool to win the jobs that you're running. So what we want to do last thing as a housekeeping item is Michelle, who's our marketing manager, who's also on the call. What's up, Michelle? She's going to drop in a quick poll for you guys. This just helps us understand who's on the call. Again, helps us cater some of the content. So feel free to chime in. Let us know what you're using of one of the following, whether you're using Leap, whether you're using Destination Motivation, or if you're using both. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube after this thing has been wrapped up, yeah, you won't be able to bid. Hopefully, no one's sitting there clicking on the screen and pausing their video. But what we will be doing is just reaching out to you guys to help out at any given time. Plus, there'll be call to action at the end. So if you need more information, you can always chime in, reach out to either Caleb or myself, and we can help you any way we can. So we'll leave this open for about 5-10 more seconds. We're at 64%. Come on. I'm going to reply to a quick question real fast. And then we'll kick this thing off in about 5 seconds.
By the way, cool. I tried to click on that about 10 times, and then I read organizers and panelists don't vote.
Nice.
You got me.
All right, cool. So here's what we'll do, you guys. We're going to kick this thing off. Again, we don't want to take a ton of your time today, because I know everyone in this is busy. So we'll get right to the point. So first thing we want to do is we're going to cover these 4 points today. All right, so we're going to take a look at some industry trends. Industry trends are really going to help shape the conversation that we're having. The big thing that we need to note is who we're dealing with is drastically shifting. So our consumers, our homeowners, our job purchasers, if you will, their behaviors and their intent and just their personas are changing. So we need to know who they are in order to cater specifically to them. We'll then talk a little bit more about Destination Motivation. So Caleb will run through exactly what their organization is, how their products work, and really show you one of the reasons why we partnered with them and why they're such a valued friend of Leap. Third, we're going to talk about some of the new features and integrations that we've done with Destination Motivation in Leap. For those of you who are joining today who use specifically Destination Motivation, but you're not yet a Leap customer, caveat of Leap with shameless plug, we're going to also talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. Keep in mind, we're not going to go into great depth on this webinar. Highly recommend you get a free demo from us. It's the easiest way to get a really clear, concise understanding. But if you use destination motivation, and Caleb can attest to this, it is a 1-2 punch when you load it into Leap. So we'll talk a little bit about what we've done to really make this thing as seamless as possible. And then lastly, we'll open it up for some Q&A. It's the holiday season, so both Caleb and I also have some special offers if people want to sign up and become customers of either organization. So we'll dive into that as well. So first things first, let's take a look at some of these industry trends. All right, and again, feel free to drop your questions in if anyone has, if anyone has anything that we want to touch on. So, all right, cool. So as we move along, first things first. So today's homeowners, if you see the main quote in bold at the bottom, just over 36% of all homeowners, home purchases that were made in 2017 were done by millennials. There's a big difference that's happening in the industry right now. You have this sort of urban sprawl, if you will. Going back to the housing bubble in 2009, there's a massive, massive group of these kind of like Gen X, millennial, borderline individuals that, as a result of a downturn in the economy, basically had to rent far longer than they normally would. These individuals are like early to mid 30s, if not late 30s. And right now, they're at the prime age and career stage in which they're leaving their apartments in the city because they're starting families. Shout out to Caleb with his new baby. Congratulations, man. But again, you guys, they're starting new families, and when you have a baby, you need space. So same thing with just wanting to get the hell out of shared walls, etc. Whatever it might be, you have this massive exodus from urban sprawl, from urban locations going into suburbs. So when you look at that, you have to ask yourself the question of, all right, well, if they're flighting into the suburbs, what kind of homes are they purchasing? These are not the individuals that are going out and purchasing the new builds. Those new builds that are basically like, hey, I get everything that I want because I was a part of the process throughout. They're the ones that are going out buying those older homes. The average age of home in the United States right now is, built in the mid 70s. So when you look at that, I can attest to this myself. My house was a time capsule when I bought it. It was literally straight out of the 50s in the downstairs, and the upstairs was a time warp back to 1990, where everything was honey wood and gold accents. It's awful. But what did I do when I first moved in? I also modified everything. I purchased home improvement. This is happening again and again and again, and that's why this industry is booming so much. It's because you're having a massive shift in who is buying a home. Aside from the millennial point, look at bullet number 1 too. It's everyone is tech savvy. Look in your pocket. Like, that's not a flip phone. There's a lot of modifications in technology and a lot of advancement, and everybody is rapid to adopt it because it makes our lives that much easier. So think about it. If you're not playing to that, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage when you go into the field. All right. The other thing we got to take a look at is really transparency and value are two of the most important things that you can do to build trust and sell to a customer. When you look at a lot of the surveys of data that we've analyzed, you're talking, there's a resounding message that goes back to truth, honesty, transparency, all these core words, where people are actually more inclined to purchase more expensive home improvement if they know they're not only getting the value, but they're also getting a very clear, concise transaction that's very open and transparent. So again, you guys can see the data on this. I don't need to read bullets for everyone and bore the hell out of you. But more important, we really need to make sure that not only your marketing practices, but also your sales pitches happening inside the homes resonate with what people are demanding. The next thing you got to look at too, and this kind of goes back to that initial slide. It's even though millennials are the fastest growing homeowner population in the U.S., they're not the majority yet. And I stress yet because they're growing 1 to 2% year over year. When you look at this, again, going back to the tech savviness of folks, they expect transactions that are going to be digital throughout. All right, there's no way anyone's going to go online and say, yeah, sure, mail me an invoice. Doesn't work like that. So again, got to make sure that you're playing to what they're used to in their day-to-day lives. And even that older baby boomer population, they're tech savvy enough that they want the same. This is the killer. All right. This is a slide that we've used a number of times in a number of different webinars that we've done. All right. One of the most terrifying things that you're going to see is on the right-hand side. Over 50% of our companies in this space, whether that be roofing, window, siding, doesn't matter. It's literally product agnostic. It's the entire remodeling industry as a whole. Over 50% of companies are still using manual methods. Hell, I will say this, you guys, even LEAP customers are still utilizing certain manual processes, even though LEAP can functionally do all of it. So you have to think about it again. What can be automated? What can be simplified? And that's again one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, specifically when you look at our relationship with destination motivation. For anyone selling those vouchers in the home, guess what? There's paperwork that goes with that. Kill the paper. You'll note on every social media platform that we use, the hashtag, and this is actually on the back of some of our t-shirts, it says paper sucks, because it does. It leads to errors, additional costs, just nightmares. So lastly, when we look at this, again, we have to go back to, if you're using manual processes and that's who you're dealing with, you got a problem. So the last slide I want to show you guys is this is one of the most fascinating stats that we've come across in our market research. All right. Lead conversions determined by 57% lead quality. So again, when you look at it, if you generate 100 leads, 100 sales, 57 of that 100 are because you had really good leads. 43 of those 100 come because you have a really good sales process. That's where you create transparency. That's where you create the value. And that's where you really have the compelling story to drive that person to purchase. So again, if you haven't seen this slide, I would highly recommend it in front of you. You shuffle around, find a pen, and write this down. It's not the last time you're going to see it in this deck, but it's one of the most important things that you can have to remind yourself how important it is to create an end-to-end digital experience, not just a, hey, I do a lot with Google and SEO and SEM, and I do, digital advertisements online, and I do radio, whatever it might be. Guess what? That person expects it throughout, not just to get that person in their home to get an estimate. Awesome. So I'm going to shut up. Now this is Caleb's time. I want to make sure that, we really highlight the value of this organization, you guys. This is something that we've seen work for some of our small clients, but a lot of our juggernauts as well. Like, doesn't matter who you are, how many sales reps you have in the field. This is one of those things that is truly that nuke in your arsenal to get people to really buy into the value you're providing to your customers. So again, this is that point at which I'm going to shut up and pass it over to Caleb. He's going to run through what destination motivation is and some of the really cool things they do through the holiday season as well.
Well, thank you, James, for that warm intro. Back on that last slide, I think 100% of salespeople would say that lead conversion is determined by 100% of the quality of the leads and 0% of sales process.
Salespeople always lie. We all know that.
But yeah, that stat is it makes so much sense in determining what's important. So destination motivation came along to really help the sales process and the marketing process in terms of creating more leverage, at the in-home estimate, creating more value, creating a bigger differentiator, creating more urgency. And what happened was, we learned a lot of people had to give up their vacation to make a big purchase like that, right? Like a big home improvement purchase. And so what you see is a situation where if you can provide them both, that's a big deal for a lot of people, right? Because if you have to give up your vacation to do something, it's probably going to affect your buying decision. And so we created these marketing tools. We call them cruise and resort vouchers, and they're specifically designed to help increase leads, sales, referrals, and profits. So I'll just spend a couple minutes talking about that. Um, James, you might go to the next slide. So in terms of, going out there and your salespeople putting their best foot forward, right now the average close rate in the industry is about, let's say 30%. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. Average cancellation rate is about 10%. Based on your sales process, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. So what our clients do is they'll leverage the cruise voucher, the cruise vacation voucher, and the resort vacation voucher, and the fact that they're transferable and people can get them to their friends and family. They'll leverage that to help differentiate from the competitors, because people can always compete with you on your product. They can always compete with you on price. They can always compete with you on, value. But if you have something that's completely different than what you're offering, and you're able to really kind of tug on emotional heartstrings, that's when you can create a lot more value in your overall value proposition. So one of the things we say, sales 101, in order to influence someone to purchase your product and service, you have to create not just value, but you have to create massive value. So when our clients also interject this into our lead process, or into their lead process, what we see is it's sort of that call to action that normally doesn't exist. So when people are already looking to purchase, a new set of windows, a new HVAC unit, a new gutters, new roof, whatever it might be, they've been putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. They see your ads. All of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, vacation plus new windows, vacation plus new furnace. Now all of a sudden, that call to action gets them to say, well, wait a second, look, you know what, we've been putting them on, let's call and see what they have to offer. Next slide, sir. So what our clients find from leveraging these vouchers, and just to clarify, these things have no gimmicks. There's no hoops to jump through. There's no timeshare presentations. This is a real valuable vacation. In fact, 95% of our clients use these themselves. The owner goes on vacation with them, or their sales reps use them, or they gift them, away at the holidays. So these things are incredibly valuable, and that makes them incredibly powerful. So we talked about leads. Close rates, we can increase close rates up to 35%. We can decrease cancellations by up to 75%. Those are the stats that we're finding with our customer base. We can increase profits by really focusing on not having to discount a deal as much. I always like to ask people, cruise vacation, 2 people cost, and what's the first, number that rattles off the top of your head? And you start to think, and you're like, well, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Average cruise cost put out by the Cruise Lines International Association is actually 4,400. So when you factor that in terms of a perceived value perspective, it starts to make a lot of sense. And people understand that, at least companies understand that people buy off emotion, not logic. So when you can tie in that emotion with the vacation voucher, you really start to persuade their decision-making process. So the increased profits happens from, upsell opportunities. Also, if you're a company that has different products that you sell, maybe you sell windows, maybe you sell siding, maybe you sell roofing, maybe you sell HVAC, furnace, water treatment, whatever it might be, you're able to cross-sell with that and create some upsell opportunities. And then from a referral standpoint, people feel so indebted to you. I mean, if you look at like the HVAC, plumbing world, that's really a grudge purchase, right? It's really the last thing you want to spend your money on. So even if you have the best installation and it's a fair price and it's a great product and it's working great, still there's this grudge like, boy, was that a lot of money that we had to spend. So when you tie in the vacation and the value of the vacation and the fact that these are the easiest things to redeem and they always have a good customer experience, now all of a sudden your referrals explode because consumers feel indebted that they got this thing. It's that extra, icing on the cake, cherry on the sundae situation. And then of course we can create different contests and social media stuff to really drive traffic. Just sort of create different elements to your business that might be lacking. For example, a yard sign contest with your customer base, or a 5-star review contest to help drive in more reviews. So there's a number of different, or a lot of our clients actually will do a contest to try to get both homeowners present at the meeting, right? Because your close rate will be much higher when that happens. So there's just so many different facets of this that are kind of all similar, but really work well. Next slide, sir. So one thing I just want to touch on that I think is important is high perceived value incentives work. What's the perceived value of a $200 gift card? It's $200. What's the perceived value of a $500 discount? It's $500. But the perceived value of something like this, which is really what you want to look into with an incentive, is what's my cost to value perspective, right? So anyways, then you have the urgency play, right? Because you're only giving so many of these out to the next few qualified customers. So act now, right? And that urgency can also be displayed in your marketing. And then of course the one size fits all. So literally every single person you come across, there's a way for them to find value. Either A, they're going on the cruise, B, they're doing the resort stay, or C, they want none of that, but they're giving it to their daughter who's getting married this spring, and this is their honeymoon gift. Imagine how that's going to tug on emotional heartstrings, right? So they are transferable. Again, they're the easiest things to redeem. We have a full concierge department service that helps your customer redeem these things. We're very customer service centric, so we really have a passion about making sure that each and every voucher recipient has the ultimate experience. And then there's just tons of flexibility and options with these things, and I'll just touch on that briefly, which is on the next slide. So one thing to note is, and this kind of goes back to the millennial subject that James was speaking about, which isn't, it's not heavy now, millennial purchases, but we're starting to see more and more of it, and it's only going to get bigger from here. 94% of millennials at the bottom there say they are highly likely to book a cruise for the next vacation, right? With people making $200,000 a year or more, it's 79%. With just the general public, it's 69%. So cruising by far is the most popular vacation on the planet. And then for the small percentage of people that, we don't like cruises, we have the resort, and then of course transferable like we discussed. Another thing that's fascinating is we share the exact same customer as the average home improvement customer, right? So the average demographic of home improvement and cruise is exactly the same. And then you can see also below that 84% of cruise passengers are married. About 80% of the people that you go out and meet with and pitch your product and service is married. So it all kind of falls in line perfectly. Next slide. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on, in terms of holidays, because we're right in the middle of holidays. Next week, things really start getting challenging to generate leads, to close sales, because it's not even at the top of their mind, even though installation might not be till like January or something. It's just mentality of consumers, and I know that everyone struggles with this constantly, but I can tell you, clients of ours that have implemented this through the holiday season have had their record best Decembers and Januaries in company history. November, December, Januaries in company history. And the reason is because you're giving them a big reason to call you and to purchase from you. So this is an example of a flyer on the right here. Cruise through the holidays gives you kind of example. A lot of sales guys, what they'll like to do is they'll like to just cross out, with a magic marker, some of those stockings that have the cruise tickets in it, to really help solidify and create that urgency. So and this is an example of a flyer that through Leap can be perfectly managed. All the other elements of this program, of our program, are all activated within Leap. which makes it such a seamless process, as it relates to the cost of the vouchers, as it relates to how your sales rep interacts with the homeowner, what they have to sign. And I know I'm jumping ahead and James is going to go into this, but it's just Leap is just such an incredible tool, and it's been a huge asset for us because it makes it so much easier for our clients to operate the program.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think one of the things to note, you guys, is still banking on this. The holidays are tough. Again, it's that idea that I need to be allocating my money toward family versus investing in some sort of home improvement product, especially when you've got the new year, impending tax season, all that other stuff. These months can be a downtime for some where they just kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to coast on the success of previous months. But unfortunately, what coasting on the success of other months means is A, lost revenue, meaning you could be out earning more. B, it's, capitalizing on other business that, your competitors are selling to. And then C, one thing that we see a lot of is it's, oftentimes this is that time of year when, a lot of companies are thinning out their staff. It's, hey, I don't have enough leads to really feed the entire force. Well, let's back off on things and keep the top five, even though the other two are, you know, pretty good. They're just not good enough to keep and still, keep the lights on. So again, it's something that you really want to take a look at in offering something along these lines. It's hugely successful. So now let's take a look at some of the integrations that Caleb and I have worked hard to build out. So first and foremost, for those of you on the call who are not familiar with Leap is basically a digital estimating and contract software that allows you to take every single person from that point of, hey, I'm interested, I want somebody to come to my house and give me a quote, to that point at which you set the appointment with that customer. All of that information gets seamlessly transferred from your CRM directly into an iPad, into Leap. You can pull that up and run any kind of product or service quote on your actual iPad. So it controls all your products, pricing, can seamlessly transition all that stuff directly into proposals, and then ultimately contracts to sign a sold deal. It also houses all your resources, meaning like brochures or other sales collaterals, like some of the flyers that Caleb mentioned. You can also use it to automate some of the forms that are required, like EPA, lead safe. Same thing with integrated financing. So we have 7 different lenders that are fully integrated in it, so you can get credit decisions in the home. All of these are the big dogs in the space, the Green Skies, the Interbanks, Foundation Finance, AmeriFirst, Dividend, Service, etc. So there's a couple other big ones in there too. So when you look at that, first thing Caleb mentioned was accounting for fees. All right. One of the things, and this is just an example, this is a demo account, so obviously you wouldn't do this the same exact way, but when you look on screen, you look at the actual screenshot that we have in there, you have the destination motivation flyer. You can call that whatever you want. That's a custom thumbnail that you would upload. So you can say, trip to Caribbean, or you can say resort in Jamaica, whatever it might be. You can put an image in there with whatever text you want. The other cool thing is you can also assign a price to it. Keep in mind, there's 2 prices on the back end. One is your cost. The other is the MSRP. In this case, what you can do is you can say, like Caleb mentioned, the average cruise is going to be somewhere around $4,400. So if you have 2 tickets in there, you could have it say $8,800. And then ultimately, at the end of it, take that off. A simple toggle. It's very, very, very simple. The only thing you need to make sure of, though, is there is an associated cost with that voucher, right? So if you're paying whatever it is, and again, you guys want to know how much it costs, ask Caleb or speak with those guys offline on this call or after this webinar. The thing to note, though, is you want to make sure that your reps are not undercutting or underselling that job based on the associated costs. The cool thing with Leap is you can artificially bake that in, so it's impossible for a rep to sell below your margins. All of that can be controlled without the rep ever knowing you did it, because you're the owners. Guess what? You control your very own margins. All of those things can be done.
James,
go ahead.
You might have to chime in real quick. You bring up such a
Sure.
valid point, because we always get asked, okay, how do you guys, what's best practices, right? And so we typically will come up with a minimum order requirement, like, a deal that's $3,000 or higher, 5,000, depending on the company's, product and their margins, whatever that number is, whatever helps to create upsell opportunities. The fact that that can be navigated perfectly in this program, it just makes it that much more powerful.
Exactly. Control is something that you guys as business owners never want to forego. Like you never want to forfeit that whatsoever to anyone other than yourselves. The good thing with this is your admins or your leadership teams can have total control over what's happening in the field through the application itself. All right. So as we continue on, the other thing we've done, and I talked with Caleb, all right, man, what's the biggest pain in the ass that you guys have to deal with? And he said, you know what? One of the biggest headaches that my team has to work on is getting the forms back. All right. Getting those cruise acceptance or getting those condo acceptance, whatever forms those might be. He said it's the biggest headache to get those back from an organization. Whether the rep loses them, they forget to send them out to customers, they got lost somewhere, whatever. You guys worked really hard to get the sale. You offered a valuable incentive to a customer. And if these things aren't executed, they can't redeem them. So effectively what you've done is as an organization, you've paid for something, given it to a customer, and they can't use it. All right. If that's the case, they're not going to leave a good review. You've effectively transitioned that positive, transparent experience into a negative one, and that can totally affect the reputation of your business, referrals, you name it. All of those things are exceedingly important to control. The good thing is we can take every one of those documents that's required and include it in the contract process. You can digitally sign, if you see on those right-hand side two screenshots, all of these things can be digitally signed. They're all baked in, and the cool thing is anyone that uses Destination Motivation, all you got to do is call us up and flip a switch. Boom, yep, we'll put them in your account. These are all public forms. They can easily be input anytime you need. The cool thing with it is you will always have a digital record. When they're done signing everything you see here, all of this can seamlessly push back and save to their file in your CRM. So that easy. Or you can designate, hey, I want to send these forms directly to this email address. Whatever you want. So the beauty of Leap is it's totally customizable for the processes for any business whatsoever. The good thing, though, is number one and number two, you never have to worry about missing a form because you can make it 100% required. And two, most importantly, you can account for your baseline costs and prevent any underselling of jobs. The last thing we always like to say anytime we do a webinar with one of our partners is, why the hell did you partner with them? And it's simple. It's this. We, I would say, are arguably some of the only companies out there who are truly trying to make that in-home experience better. I guarantee every single one of you started your business because you thought you could do it better than somebody else. And that's a fact. Anytime we talk with any one of our customers, that's one of the main reasons. Where did you get your start? Oh, I started in this company. Cool. Why aren't you still at that company? Because I started my own business. Why did you start your own business? Because I could do it better. All right. That's exactly where both of these companies were really, truly built out of, was that same exact mentality. There's a better way to do it. And the cool thing with this is it's a better way to do it that plays exactly to the customer set that we're dealing with today. It's not 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it might be. It's today. It's a tech-forward, very tightly controlled application. It makes it so that your sales reps have absolutely every tool in their hand to close that job on site in a digital format that speaks to your customers. So when you look at this and what it adds value, you want to talk about setting yourself apart from your competitor. You go into a home with Leap and you go in there armed with any one of these travel vouchers, there's no reason why you shouldn't be closing that. There's no reason why you shouldn't be losing that business. Unless you're just astronomically pricing yourself out, which we all know that's not the case. There's really no reason why somebody shouldn't be doing it. And these guys at Destination Motivation, Caleb, you in specific, have just been wonderful to work with. It's very seamless and integrated. The cool thing with it is it's just a 1-2 punch. So if you guys haven't used both, or you're not actively using both, you should really look into the value that it could add to your companies. So again, shameless plug aside, really excited to have these guys as a partner. They've been with us for well north of a year. Leap is actually turning 3 years old this month. So it's, hey, you guys have been 33% of our lives. So again, thanks so much for being a valued member, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, can I add to that? I mean,
Yeah, go for
one
it.
thing I'll say is it's just kind of the biggest no-brainer on the planet. That's one of the reasons we partner with you, is because your program is just a no-brainer, and combined with ours, it's just like everybody wins. The sales guys win because they're closing more deals at higher dollar amounts. The owner of the company wins from that, and many other inefficiencies that are now managed properly. All the way down. The Leap does so much with like financing, everything. It's just incredible. And every company wants to focus on closing the loopholes of those inefficiencies and figuring out ways of closing more sales. And it all comes down to leads and sales, right? But having Leap to process those efficiently, to maximize on the dollars that you're spent. I look at that average close rate of 30% and I think, okay, so what about the 70% of the deals that you already paid for? Those are leads you paid hundreds of dollars for. 70% of that, I mean, you do the math on that, it adds up to tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in lost revenue. And if you can close the loop on that, of leads that you already paid for or that you're already going to pay for, if you can close the loop on that and close 10, 20, 30, 40% more of those, everybody wins.
Exactly, and that just goes back to this slide, you guys. It's as simple as you work your ass off to generate the leads, but at the end of the day, it's your sales process that's almost an equal contributor to the quality of the leads in terms of how many you're going to close. So if you're not really making sure that every single T is crossed and I is dotted, and that you're doing everything that you can to cater to that known population, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. So what we want to do is we want to also then now open it up to a little bit of Q&A. Feel free. We're going to continue on and just show you guys too how to reach out to this. But in the meantime, feel free to drop in any questions that you guys might have. Whatever those might be. Again, we've got a couple coming in right now. All right. So first one coming up here is from Andre. It says, how do you make the form a requirement where reps have to add this to every contractor proposal? In Leap, the cool thing is we've actually got patent pending on this, is every single part of your contracts is a template. So this is its own separate section within that contract. So as you fill out, hey, I'm going to sell a roof and I need my EPA and lead safe, and I'm going to do my payment section, I'm also going to select the templates that say, destination, motivation, etc. So the cool thing is if you toggle on that you've used that as a portion of your estimate, you can absolutely mandate that they do that in the contract section. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do. Again, you can also position that on the screen so that it's abundantly clear. You can make it different colors, etc. You can add the little note in there that says you must include this. So there's a lot of different ways in which you can shape the behavior of reps. You can shape the behavior of the reps just by how you input that into Leap's contract section.
That's a great question, by the way. That was a great question.
Yeah, it's a really good one. So again, you guys are the masters of your own destiny. There's a lot of ways to control rep behavior. It's really all about how you present it, and it's really all about what you lock down. It's as simple as that. The next one we got, how much does this program cost? So there's a number of different things that we can touch on. I would highly recommend every single company for both Leap and Destination Motivation is going to have individual pricing based on volume. Correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb. Leap is pretty simple. It's going to be a range. I'll give you the high end, and you can obviously deduce that there's a lower end to it. But per license, it's usually a 12-month a 12-month commitment, but it's up to $125 per user per month. And then from there, there's an onboarding and training fee of 2,500 bucks. But what that does is it not only covers the lifetime of training and support, we also assign a dedicated individual to you individually to custom build Leap for exactly the way your business needs to operate. There's no out of the box with us. It's everything is built exactly the way you need it because every single business is different. And then Caleb, feel free to chime in on your end for the vouchers.
The max, the voucher, whether it's cruise or resort, that you'll pay is $199, and the price is decreased based on volume. So if you're buying, 20 vouchers, 30, 40, 50, whatever that number is, the price decreases based on that volume. But that $199 is the max. So it's pretty simple and straightforward.
Yep, nice and easy. And then the other thing, guys, to compare $199 to $4,400 perceived value. Like Caleb said, it's the difference between a $200 gift card is a $200 gift card. A $200 voucher is a $4,400 value. So again, massive amounts of value can be generated out of something that simple. So we'll continue on. The one thing we want to make abundantly clear too is, you guys, when we do these types of partnerships, there's a lot of incentives that we like to throw out to our customers for taking time out of your day and just truly share the wealth when it comes to these types of setups. So Caleb, feel free to chime in on your end, and then I'll chime in on the Leap side.
For anyone that wants to sort of learn some best business practices for your specific business, the best way to figure that out is really to jump on a call and kind of learn more about your business. And we can easily figure that out within a few minutes. We're working with 300 plus home improvement and HVAC plumbing companies throughout North America. So we've got a really good sort of idea of how the program works, how your business works. We're in every state, including Canada, and so we've got a really good pulse on the industry. But we've got a special through this webinar for any client or for any company that ends up signing up from this webinar. We'll offer 3 vouchers for free. So you pick, and you could use these through the holidays, give them to your sales reps, use these as a sales tool, give these to your husband or wife, whatever you might want to do. We'll offer that. So anyways, that's our special.
Awesome. Thanks, Caleb. Real quick, too, before I jump into Leap, so I'm going to answer Bridget's question. She said, does Leap work with your existing CRM system, or is it a standalone product? The cool thing is it can integrate seamlessly with any of the industry standard CRMs. So like the Market Sharps, the Lead Perfections, Salesforce, Improve It 360, and basically anything with an open API. So there's a lot of ways in which Leap can seamlessly integrate with those, so that it not only is pushing all of your documents and data back upstream, saving it to that lead record, it can also pull in any of that customer data so your reps don't have to fill it all out. All that can be used to pre-populate contracts. All that can be used to pre-populate addresses. Same thing, pre-populating all of your financing applications. So pretty cool stuff. Lastly, what I want to do is, this is kind of the hey, Leap is 3 years old celebration. For any new companies that are coming on Leap, arguably this is the best time ever that we can do this. 2019 for us was a massive year of growth. The company has just blown up over the last 3 years. I joined about a year and a half ago, and it's not even the same place. We've outgrown 3 different offices. So really exciting to see the kind of traction and growth this organization has had. We want to share the wealth. So what we're saying is, any new companies that decide to come on or sign up for a free demo between now and December 1, call this the 3-year anniversary meets Black Friday meets Cyber Monday. We're going to be offering these three incentives out, or one of these 3 incentives out when you sign up. So we'll either pay 100% of your onboarding, which is that $2,500 I mentioned. We'll cover that. All right. Or, again, for the larger organizations that might be on this conversation, we'll cover your subscription costs for the first 90 days. All right, keep in mind, that could be pretty substantial depending on the number of people that you have on board. And then lastly, if let's say, and we get this all the time, we are an iOS-based app, all right, meaning you have to have an iPad to use it. We've talked a little bit about doing this with Android, etc. There's a massive difference between the quality of an iPad and the battery life or the quality on an Android device. Statistically speaking, the iPad is hands down the better option. It's over 70% of the market share as well. Plus, when you look at some of the pertinent data that's passed up and downstream with your CRM, iPads are also a lot less susceptible to getting hacked. So anyway, that's why it's an iOS. The cool thing is if you're an Android person, guess what? We'll take the load off your plate. Or if you just really love iPads and don't want to pay for them because they're expensive, we'll even throw up to 5 iPads when you sign up. So again, best time ever that you could ever sign up for Leap. If you've even considered this, honestly, you're never going to see something like this again. So this is more of a thank you, not only for joining the webinar, but as for being a valued customer or a valued member of anything that we've done with our partners for the last 3 years. So thank you guys so much for everything that you've done to make us who we are. Caleb, can't say enough good things about you and your organization. You guys have been a wonderful partner to us. If anyone has any questions, again, feel free to drop them in. If anyone wants to reach out, again, you can always go to our website at leaptodigital.com/destination motivation. That's our partner page for that. Request your demo, get access to one of these 3 incentives, and we're always happy to answer any questions or walk you through a demo. So again, thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your day, you guys. We're so grateful for everyone on this call. We're also going to be uploading this to YouTube, as well as reaching out to any one of you guys about potential partnerships with other organizations. So thank you so much. Again, Caleb, you're the man. Feel free to reach out to us at info.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, man. Congratulations on the new little one, and all the best to you guys for the holiday season. Thank you guys for joining, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.
Cheers.
All right, take care, guys.